I am Alice of KHR Arts and Cloud Orchid Publishing, and today we are going to talk about common scams in the writing and publishing industry. So for those of y'all who are part of the Facebook writing groups, I'm sure that plenty of y'all are familiar with these, but for those of y'all who might not be a part of those groups, or maybe you've had the luck of not encountering these things, I am going to learn y'all today. So, first things first, what exactly are scams that are frequently found in the writing and publishing industry, and what exactly is their goal here? So there are a few different kinds of scams with different goals in mind. The two different goals are, one, to scam you out of money, and two, to scam you out of your book so that they can pirate it and put it up and make money off of your book, which is hugely problematic. So let's get into it. We're going to start off with talking about first the types of scams where they're pretty much here for stealing your money. Those are the easy ones, and they're typically pretty easy to spot if you know what to look for. So if you have been on these writing groups on Facebook, as well as I'm sure there are other forums and other platforms that also have the same problem, I've just noticed it more so on Facebook in particular, is you will see those posts that have the nice little happy rectangle that has like colors or, a cute little background on it. And it'll say something like, authors, drop your cover below, drop your book link for promotion, or, some simple thing that's basically encouraging you to drop your book link to promote yourself, which is like catnip to us authors, is that we're always looking for a chance to promote our books in any space that we can with the hope of maybe making a sale. The reason why they do this is that they want to have a list of people that they can then send a DM to, and they're like, hey, I'm a professional book promoter, and if you pay me this fee, I'll help promote your book and you'll get so many sales. And usually they use numbers that are just completely wild and ridiculous. They'll say something like, if you pay me X amount of money, you'll get like 10,000 book sales. None of that is going to happen. All that's going to happen is you are going to be X amount of money lighter in the wallet and you ain't getting nothing in return. They're easy to spot because if you go to their Facebook profile, it's usually going to have some generic stock image portrait of a person for their profile picture, which I can guarantee you is not actually them. They're going to have some generic thing as their page banner saying something to the effect of book promoter, book marketing, blah, blah, blah. And they're going to have like no posts on their page. It's all just going to be repetitive book marketing graphic garbage. And unfortunately, some people do fall for it. And it also makes people who actually, like me, who actually are marketers for a living and we actually know how to do this stuff, it makes people so much more suspicious of us. And they're like, but are you really going to get me more book sales? Are you actually going to promote my book? Or are you just one of those scammers? It makes it so much more difficult, and it sucks, y'all. And it's typically, you can tell that they're not for realsies, not just on their crappy profile, that they obviously snagged stock images to use for it and hastily put it together. The big red flag is that English is not their first language. Not hating on anyone who has English as not their first language, this is just a common denominator, is that typically their grammar and spelling is going to be a little bit wonky. But the biggest red flag is that if you actually do talk to them and they will say something very generic, they'll say, oh, I just absolutely love your book and I want to promote it. And especially if you're someone like me who has multiple books, if you ask them, which book did you like? They will not answer that. They will just keep dancing around the question and keep saying, oh, send me your book link. Send me your book link. I can promote it. And if you keep saying which one, they'll just say the book. They won't say a title. They won't say a genre. They'll just keep saying the book. Send me the book. That's your biggest red flag there, is that they don't actually know anything about any of your books. They don't actually know anything about you as an author. They don't care. They just want you to send them your money so that then they can just ride off into the sunset and you'll never hear from them ever again. This is also true of the other type who will steal your book in order to pirate it, which is far more nefarious. It's the same sort of setup. It's far less common, thank goodness. But what happens is they then go to typically Amazon, they find your book, they will usually buy it, not in book form, but in ebook format, and they will literally lift the file and then upload it either to Amazon or some other book site, and they will sell it there pretending to be you, which is why a lot of authors find themselves in hot water where Amazon has a clause where you're not allowed to sell your book on other platforms outside of Amazon, and they don't see the difference. They don't know that someone has pirated your book, and they will punish you for it, and you'll get your book shut down until you can get the pirate's book shut down, which is a whole other kind of horrible. So just do not interact with these so-called book marketers. And not only that, a real marketer worth their salt will actually be willing to have a real conversation with you in the comments publicly where people can see it, and they will actually show that they've done their research, and they can give you information about, yeah, I saw that you wrote X titled book that's X genre. I work really well in that genre, and I know how to promote that kind of book. They'll be able to give you actual specific answers rather than just generic nonsense. If you're looking for a book marketer, a real one, make sure that you ask them specific questions and don't be so hot to trot on just sending them your book link. Those are the big things that you can do to avoid that. The next type of scammer, which is one that I wasn't even aware of was a thing until I started seeing people complaining about it on the Facebook groups, which I just felt like we're in bizarro world. This is a thing, excuse me, it's common for hopeful authors and also newbie authors to complain about the cost of how much it costs to hire an editor to go over your manuscript. And while yes, this is a really big expense, and while yes, you can go to websites like Fiverr and whatever to get someone for cheaper, but also you get what you pay for, keep that in mind. Things cost what they do because it takes you hours to do it. As a professional editor, I can also say it takes a long time to edit a full manuscript. It is worth the money that you pay for it. Everyone wants something for nothing, so that's where we are, as well as authors don't make a lot of money. So a lot of people don't want to invest too much capital into their book because they know they're not necessarily going to see that money come back to them. So I understand it. It's a point of frustration. Everybody has an opinion on it. La la la. That's neither here nor there. The particular scam that I've seen that I think is just craziness is that apparently there are people out there claiming to be editors charging $10,000 to edit one single manuscript. Normal 80 to 100,000 words, 300 pages manuscript. Y'all. This is one of the most bonkers things I've ever heard. You know, I've heard of people pretending to be editors and taking the money and dipping out. I've heard of people claiming to be editors and they're not actually good at what they do, and the edits they send back are atrocious, or they take manuscripts that they have no business taking, and maybe they're really good at fantasy, but they have no idea what they're doing with historical fiction, and they try to apply the same things to it, and it just turns out like crap. Like, there's so many things, but an actual scam, because those are people that it's just they don't know what they're doing and they're doing a bad job, whereas this is an actual scam where someone will claim to be an editor and try to charge you $10,000 for a basic editing package for a standard book. First of all, that's crazy. Say no to that. That's outrageous. To give y'all an idea, it's pretty standard. I charge about $1,000 for that same thing, for a basic editing package for a standard book, and you get 2 rounds of edits. That's pretty standard from an editor. I'm like basic entry-level editor here. Of course, that price can go up if you want to get fancier and stuff like that, but yeah, about somewhere between $500 and $1,500, depending on the editor and depending on what you're asking them to do, is pretty standard for a standard size manuscript. I don't know what on earth you would need to pay an editor $10,000 for. That just sounds crazy. I could see maybe like a full book series and you're asking the person to edit them all in one go. That would make sense. But honestly, what you're more likely going to run into for $10,000 is someone ghostwriting your book for you and charging $10,000 for them to write the entire manuscript for you. That's more in line with that cost, but editing, no. Make sure that you research what is the going rate for certain services so that you can know, you can budget and know your expectations, but also so that you can know when someone is absolutely taking you for a ride. So always be aware of what the going rate is. If you don't know, just ask. People will typically give you a pretty straightforward answer. And let me tell y'all, $10,000 is not one of them. So the last type of scammer that I'm going to talk about is one that I have talked about a lot in my other videos, but it fits the bill in this particular video, so we're going to talk about it again, is vanity publishers. So as I've talked about in my previous videos, what a vanity publisher is it is a publishing company where you pay a fee, and that fee can be anything from paltry to completely outrageous, depending on the vanity publisher, and they make your book into a book, and that's it. They don't do any of the marketing for you, even if they say they do. They don't. They just slap your book up on their website, and that's what they consider marketing. And that's pretty much it. And with all the self-publishing services that we have nowadays, we just don't need that. You just do not need to pay a fee to have a vanity publisher literally do what a layout artist does for a fraction of that, and you still own the rights to your book. That's the other thing. That's what's most important about this scam, is that a lot of these vanity publishers not only charge you a fee to literally just make your book into a book, which is what a layout artist does for you, but you sign a contract where they own the rights to your book. You have to be very careful about who you sign your rights over to. Yes, if you go the traditional publishing route, that is what you have to do. You have to sign over the rights of your book to the publishing house for them to publish your book. But the reason for that is because then they actually do their job as the publisher and not just foot the bill for making your book into a book, which importantly, they don't charge you for. They handle that cost themselves. So you don't pay them a single red cent. And then they actually do if they're a reputable publishing house anyway, they will do a good run of marketing for you and, put your book out there and make sure that you're getting the attention that you need. Now, different publishing houses have different programs, different publishing houses have different reach. So obviously, you're going to get a lot more reach and a lot more marketing budget from, let's say, a big time publishing house like Random House or Penguin or whatever than you are a local indie publisher. So keep that in mind where you're sending it to. But a vanity publisher doesn't do any of that. They don't hook you up with posting campaigns on social media. They don't reach out to local events. They don't set up signings for you. They don't do any of that stuff. But they still have you sign away the rights to your book, which is nonsense. If they're not giving you anything in return, why are you signing away your whole book? Why are you doing that? Don't do that. Whereas a layout artist, their job is literally to take your manuscript, whether it's a Word document or whatever kind of word processor you use, and turning it into the type of document that a printer needs in order to put it into a book, which is a whole art in itself. It is a very complicated process in order to take your random Word document and make it into a book. There's all these rules with the gutters and the margins and orphans and widows, which has to do with a word being all by itself and all that kind of stuff. Page layout, font, sizing, what looks aesthetically pleasing, what the market's currently looking for, blah, blah, blah. It's a very tedious job. I am very grateful that Brian and I secured a layout artist where we just send her my manuscripts and she makes them look amazing. She's so good at what she does. Love her. If you're going to pay a fee to make your book into a book, hire a layout artist because they don't have the rights to your book at all. And if they're, who they say they are and are professional, they delete your files after they complete the project. They don't keep your files, so there's no risk of them pirating your book or accidentally sending the files where they shouldn't be or whatever. That they are like, okay, project's done, project is deleted, moving on. That is how a professional layout artist works. There is no contract signed saying they have any rights to your stuff. The only contract signed is, okay, this book is X amount of pages. That's going to take me X amount of time. My fee is X amount of dollars. The end. That's what the contract should say. Nothing more. So it's so important to make sure that you understand the expectations of the publishing process so that you don't find yourself on the butt end of a scam, because there are so many hopeful authors and new authors looking to get more of their books out there that fall for these. And really, the biggest reason that I see for this is not because they're dumb or not because they don't know any better, but they're just too excited and they're too trusting. Is that they're just so excited that someone reached out to them and was like, hey, we want to publish your book, but you have to pay us $600 and sign over all your rights. And they do it. because they're just so excited that someone wants to publish their book. And if they just sit and think about it for 10 minutes, they'd realize this is a whole bunch of nonsense. This isn't real. And also the fact that we want to achieve that dream. We want someone to reach out and be like, wow, your book is amazing. I want to publish it. And, you know, riding that high, we sometimes make dumb decisions. And it doesn't make you stupid. It just makes you overeager. So before you pick up that pen or, you know, that stylus, make sure you sit down, read it over, ask other people in the industry what they think. Don't just sign things right away. Don't just send your money over right away. And for goodness sake, don't send your manuscript right away, because that's how stuff gets stolen. So take the time, take a breath, ask some friends. It'll save you a lot of money, a lot of hassle, and may even save your career as an author. So I hope y'all found this video helpful. If you did, please be sure to give it a like. And if you're new, subscribe. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.